Welcome to Gracefully Graying. I'm your host, Attorney Henry Garnvine. Today on Gracefully Graying, I'm very pleased to welcome as my guest Sharon Emek, the founder, chair, and CEO of WAHVE. And we're going to learn a lot about how those of us who are gracefully graying can extend our careers or become experts from home. Sharon, welcome to Gracefully Graying.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
First of all, Sharon, what prompted you to create WAHVE?
My background is in the insurance industry, I was, as a woman business owner, I did a lot of speaking. I was active on insurance industry boards, and the industry was having a constant talent issue, not attracting enough young people, and the industry was writing about it's a huge boomer industry, and all these people are going to be retiring. What are we going to do? There's going to be a major crisis, the industries. And I started writing that in about 2007, 2008. So the talent gap was really pretty significant, and people were fighting over the same few available talent. That was a problem that the industry was thinking focusing on attracting young people to get them into the industry, as opposed to going to tech or Wall Street, which is still happening. People don't find the industry very attractive when they're young. So over time, I also would speak to women about that they were going to live longer. We understood that life insurance tables were now being extended because the lifespan was we were living longer. And so I talked to a lot of people that they're going to have to continue to work longer in order to support themselves because their lives span are being extended. And then in 2007, the iPhone came out. So by 2009, people were already FaceTiming grandchildren. And you could be in your 60s and you already said, oh my goodness, now I can FaceTime and see my family from wherever I am. And by 2009, VoIP quality became improved significantly and was so inexpensive that companies now were switching to VoIP phones, which you can just plug into a router. Before that, to work from home and have a phone was very difficult because it didn't have the right wiring, and the VIA systems were very expensive. So companies couldn't provide phones to work from home. So being also have a tech background as well. So all those things were rolling around in my head and saying, for every problem, there is definitely an opportunity. And, I had built businesses before, so I was experienced in building businesses. And I kept saying, there's got to be a solution to this problem. And with all those things floating around in my head, one day I woke up with the idea that, people don't want to stop working. When we retire, it's not because we want to stop working, it's because we don't want to go to the office anymore. Some people have been traveling an hour and a half their entire career, back and forth, 3 hours a day out of their lives, 5 days a week. So my idea was that if I could qualify people who are retiring at a very granular level about their areas of expertise, I could then set them up to work from home, contract them out to insurance brokers, insurance companies, where they have the talent gap. And they could just walk in because they've had 25, 30 years of experience doing that job. And I could then match them to those talent gaps and set them up to work from home on long-term assignments. So I started the company over 10 years ago. I still have people working for me at the same company for 10 years on a long-term assignment, working from home. And they love her. She's so smart. I have someone who's 78 working for a client, and she's a national roller skating champion still. So that was the concept. So, one day I woke up and I said, what about this idea? Why can't I just do that? Help them extend their career working from home. These were the worker bees. They have the knowledge. They weren't managers who can go have a second career and go work for a charity. They really need to have that same, similar income. And they have this amazing knowledge that you don't want to have a brain drain out of the insurance industry. You want to keep it in the industry. So, because to train and have someone have that kind of experience just takes so long. So I woke up with the idea and then said, what am I going to name it? Not Over the Hill yet, not Kaput yet. I came up with, and then it occurred to me to just create this thing called work at home. And I didn't want to use the word senior, work at home seniors. I said, ugh, seniors already has a negative connotation. What would not have a negative work from home, whatever. So finally I said, I didn't want to use senior. I didn't want to use graying. So I came up with vintage because people like vintage wine, vintage cars. They're very valuable. So that's how I came up with work at home vintage experts. And then the issue to get it off the ground was that companies still want to manage the old way. They want to see people by sight. And I would say to them, why? You sit in the cubicle and you see what they do every day? I don't think so. I think you look at the results. So what's the difference if the cubicle is in your office or the cubicle is in someone's home who has that kind of experience that you never have to worry about having to train or shadow somebody? I can understand young people need to get a lot of training, but somebody with that experience. So over time, we were able to convince companies. We became also a 100% virtual company ourselves. I have an internal staff of 39, Anywhere USA. We have a wonderful virtual culture. And then we have over 520 people now working from home for companies all across the country.
Sharon, I love the term vintage because to me, vintage means a classic car, a fine wine. I mean, it's like the old idea, we're aging, we're mellowing, we're getting better, or like a fine scotch that's been aged for many, many years. So it's a great term. So you kind of told us a little bit about your background and the history of WAHVE. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how it works and what your target audience is?
So our target audience, we say very clearly on our site, we're for people over 50 who want to transition out of the office and work from home. And so the process is, there's no barrier to entry. We don't charge anything. The person comes in, completes our preliminary profile. We then do a preliminary interview to make sure that they really fit the model, because some people apply that really aren't over 50. Everyone applies. We get so many people who apply because they're just desperate for a job, but they really don't fit the demographic. Though we do allow people in who are younger than 50 if they have disabilities. So we accommodate people with disabilities because they cannot go to the office. So we do that as well. If you're younger than 50, as long as you have at least 15 years of experience, because we can't train you. We're not into training at all. We're into helping people extend what they've been doing. So the process is you have a preliminary interview. If everything seems right, we then invite you to complete our full application. The application and the software we built to qualify people is what we're calling blind auditioning software. In other words, we never see anyone visually at all. When we call an interview, it's strictly through the phone. No one's allowed to use a camera. We try to take out any kind of prejudice in the qualifying process. So we built very, very granular qualifying software. And so the applicant fills out not just the work experience, but they have granular skills tables. And we have 9 different skills tables, starting from, your job title is considered a skills table, your areas of expertise, the technology that you know. So we go through a whole series of skills that they have to select that they've done over their career. And then they go to a skills table where they have to say how many years they used the skill, when was the last time they used the skill, and would they consider themselves an expert, intermediate, or a beginner in the skill, so that we can really do a good match to a job. We really get to know them at such a granular level. We also created within the software our own behavioral questions, because these are people that are over 50. I can't use the behavioral questions some of these companies create for young people, and they never even work well anyway. So we built our own behavioral questions based on the demographic, and also that you're going to be working from home. For example, one of our questions is very important, is we say to us, then one of the questions is, well, tell us what you would like to do now, because sometimes we have higher level people who don't want to be in that high stressful job, and they'll say, oh, I just really want to do this now because I know I'm going to get less money for it, but I don't care. I don't want the stress of the higher level job. So one of the important things is to ask them what they like to do now. We ask them questions like, tell me about the friendships you had over your career. because that's important. People never make friends in their career. That could be a problem communicating from home. So we've created software that enables us to really get at the person's skills and experience and in a sense, temperament and personality. And then we do the same for the client. So the client has to fill out the same skills tables, and the client has to put in a full job description with daily functions, and they have to say which of the skills are required or which would they like, prefer, so that we can really do a very, very granular match. And nobody pays anything for any of this until we get somebody hired. Then at that point, we build the client, and we call our people WAHVEs. We pay the WAHVE and build the client. So that's basically how the process works.
Sharon, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on WAHVE?
Well, actually, for us, it's been really good for our WAHVEs, because the clients now rely on them. When they had to move everyone out of the office, they're already used to working with a remote worker from our WAHVEs. And many of our WAHVEs work many more hours because they had to cover other people until they got them set up. And our WAHVEs were very helpful in giving them advice on how to set up more people. So we were sitting in a unique situation as experts on working from home. I even wrote a guide for setting up people to work from home, how to create a flexible work environment. I wrote that a few years ago for the insurance industry to try to help companies understand that they can successfully have people working remotely from home. I've been trying to shift that paradigm for quite a while. I knew eventually we'd get there, and COVID made us get there faster, that's for sure. And so we revised that guide, we put it out there for everybody. And so we've been really very instrumental in helping companies successfully set up their office to work from home during COVID.
Sharon, COVID-19 has had a definite impact. It's also forced us to become more, I guess, conversant with a lot of technology than we might not have been.
Right. Look at Zoom. We didn't have Zoom. No one used Zoom before COVID.
Your background is insurance, but you target 3 employment areas that I learned from studying your site. First, of course, is insurance. Second is accounting. And third is human resources. Tell us why you picked those 3 areas.
Since I'm about extending career, I'm about knowledge work. Okay, so it's about knowledge jobs, and the areas where, and when I look at the research, well, insurance for sure, I didn't even need to do the research. I'm in the industry. I knew the issues. But the other 2 areas of knowledge work that seem to have not enough young people coming into and a lot of people retiring was human resources and accounting. Very similar, big boomer population. Young people aren't running into accounting any longer like they used to, and HR is not so lucrative for young people either. So those are the 2 others. And also within the insurance industry, we really do every job. We just say insurance is a catch-all phrase, but we do not just underwriters or account managers. We do HR in the insurance industry, accounting. So because we're catching the insurance industry is huge, and it has every single type of job. So we thought the other 2 areas overlap with insurance, but also any other company can come to us and use that talent as well.
Sharon, what are the typical ages of most of your clientele?
I think the average age is about 60. Yeah. And
what are some of the oldest placements you've done?
Well, one of the oldest is one of my managers who came to me through WAHVE, and she's 82. But we have somebody working who's 85, and the client thinks that she's 65 because she's such a whiz. But when you get to be 85, we keep letting them know, give us advance notice when you're ready to retire, when you feel you just can't do the job, and we'll let the client know. Because that happens. Since we're in that demographic, people do finally say, you know what, I just don't want to work anymore at all right now because I need to take care of my spouse or I need to whatever. So,
tell us about first of all, how have you obtained a nationwide reach? I mean, you're in New York, you have people all over the country. How did you do it?
Well, first of all, I was well known throughout the insurance industry. I've been in a number of boards. I testified. I was a terrorism insurance expert for the insurance industry, testified before Congress. So I had a national reach in my contacts across the country. And so when I started WAHVE, I would reach out to them. I also, because I was chair of the Independent Insurance Agents and Brokers of America of New York board, and also on a National Agents Council for Technology board, I reached out to them and said, look, your members, all your members, they're desperate for talent and desperate for help. I have a solution. And I'd say, try it, you'll like it, try it and you'll see. And that's how I started. But I also did a survey with the National Alliance, which is one of the education arms and does a certain, certifications like certified insurance counselor, and you have to have continuing ed. And I said, goes back to now 2010. In the industry, it's like keep complaining about all these people going to want to retire and no young people. Have we ever done a survey about what our boomers in our industry are thinking? Do they want to retire? Do they want to work from home? Are they worried about being able to support themselves as they live longer? Because all of us in the insurance industry knew we were going to live longer. Because that's the numbers that we live. And so we did a survey, and they had over 50,000 people over 50 on their on their database because they knew the birth dates. And we got 3,000 response back from that survey, and 1,000 registered on my website because we already had built a website that they would love to apply and work from home. And so that survey they put out there to the whole industry. It was co-authored by me and them. And so that's another way that I had built a national reach to find applicants. The national reach to find clients was through all my contacts and being involved in all these associations.
What is your vision for WAHVE? I mean, you're clearly growing and you're covering a lot of key areas. What do you see for the future?
Well, I see that this is going to be a growing trend. I believe people feel valued more when they work from home. When they're recognized that even when they're 60, 70, that they have amazing knowledge that they can contribute. So what I see is that I'm transforming. My clients will tell you that when we survey them all the time, that our people, even in technology, perform as well or if not better than their internal staff, because they have such a great work ethic. They're so committed. They have wisdom. They have experience, so they problem solve better. And so my goal is to transform how companies view older workers and to recognize how valuable they are and how they bring so much to the table and bring diversity to the table as well, and age diversity to the table. So, and also to make sure that, we feel we have purpose every single day, because every day we help people continue to work safely from home and have a better quality of life as they age. They take their laptops and visit their grandchildren. They can go to warmer climate in the winter. They can have a lovely life and still continue to work and support themselves. And everyone wins. Companies win, people win, and society wins because they don't have to be a burden on society.
You mentioned one point earlier that really sticks in my mind. If you live in New York, California, or some other major metropolitan areas, a typical commute can be 1.5 hours each way. So basically, if you're working from home, you're getting 3 hours that you've lost in a commute.
Oh, yeah, we surveyed them. You should see Atlanta. Atlanta is a nightmare. So yes, we save them. And so with many of them, you think you want to work part-time. Some of them don't. They work full-time. 40% of our people want to work full-time. And we say, why? We say, well, I wake up at 7 in the morning. I don't have to travel. I don't have to spend an hour getting myself ready. I would spend an hour getting myself ready to go to the office, right? You got to get dressed up in a suit instead of just throwing on some clothes. You have to make yourself coffee or whatever. Now you make your coffee. She said, and I eat at my desk. I have my coffee and I start working. By 2 o'clock, I'm done. And I have the rest of the day. So I like the money and I like working. To me, full-time, it feels like part-time because I don't have to do any of the preparation. I don't have to travel. I don't have to be stressed out if I'm going to hit traffic on my way to work or on my way home. So I have less stress and I have more time. I now got to know my neighbors better, my community better, because I always came home too late from work to even have a chance to socialize.
Sharon, I'm applying for a job. I contacted WAHVE take us through the process. Tell us what happens when someone first interacts and says, help, so to speak.
Well, we basically take them through an whole application and interview process. And then the issue is we have a lot of people who've applied, but we don't have enough jobs for them. Because obviously, I mean, a lot of people, and to qualify, you really have to have a certain level of skills. So, but once we have when our software does the match, so when a job comes in, we searches our database, and then we see which are the best candidates that match. We then call them, and because it's a two-way street, we ask them, we explain to them the job, and we have them look on the company's website, and we ask them, is this some company that you might be interested in working for? So we want to make sure the match is two ways, because both the applicant and the client are really our customer. And so we're like, we sometimes say we're like Match.com, but instead of for romance, it's for matching you for your best job to work from home. Because we have that kind of algorithm that does that kind of a match based on all the questions everybody answers. So the concept is the same. And then they get interviewed over the phone. No one's allowed to, again, the client knows they cannot video on an interview. We don't want anyone influenced by how somebody looks. So, because, and I'll give you a good example
Yes.
of why this is so important. So we had someone who applied to WAHVE about a year ago. And after she was working a few weeks, she personally sent me an email saying, I cannot tell you how much you have done for my life. She moved to be near her granddaughter, so she left her job. And then she was applying to jobs for a year. Amazing experience. You know, she was 60 years old and she had a limp. Okay, she would walk in for the interview, and the whole year she never got hired. We qualified her within 3 weeks. We had a match for her. And the client fell in love with her, said, oh my God, look at that experience. Her resume is amazing. They interviewed her, and after 3 or 4 months, the client said, oh my God, this woman is amazing. Now, had she walked into his office, he probably would never have hired her. He doesn't know she has a limp. He doesn't even really know how old she is. All he knows is she's over 50. He doesn't know that she's 60 and that her hair is all gray. Had he seen her, he probably would never have hired her. That's the beauty of what WAHVE does. It takes all that prejudice out of the hiring process. So when we match someone and they get interviewed, they don't have to worry about, you know, if they're on the heavy side, if they look older. You know, there's some people who are 75 who look like they're 60, and there's some people who are 60 who look like they're 75. You know, so you have to take that whole concept out of the hiring process.
Sharon, what about the costs involved?
Well, it doesn't cost anybody anything. We make money off of placing, matching someone, getting them hired on an assignment. And so it doesn't cost the client anything. It doesn't cost the applicant anything.
Are most of your hirees, those who are hired, are they part-time or full-time from your experience?
60% are part-time and 40% are full-time. Yeah.
And how many placements do you typically do in a year?
Well, we've been growing in the first year. We typically, right now, we're at a stage where we're hoping to do about 100 placements this year. So, and as we expand, and as now that companies are getting much more comfortable with people working from home, we're hoping that will grow.
Well, it should. I mean, it makes so much sense. It's like, and especially now, everyone's forced to work from home to a large degree, is depending on what you do. So,
right, and the problem that the companies have right now, there are a few reasons why this model works well, and it's because many companies today are having problems finding talent in their own backyard. They keep hiring people right around them who can drive and go to work, and that talent might not be there. So you have turnover. They complain, oh my God, you hear it all the time. With WAHVE, you can have someone anywhere in the country. The talent isn't just about what's in your backyard. So that gives companies the opportunity to really find the right talent for the job. The other thing is, we are experts at interviewing remotely. Companies today, they're having a hard time figuring out how to hire anybody if you're not in an office physically seeing somebody in an interview. We take that whole away. We do all of that, and we know how to do this remotely. So companies now are coming beginning to come to us to say, I don't know how to find somebody. Why don't we hire one of your WAHVEs because you know how to do this? We don't. Yeah.
Sharon, what are the charitable aspects of WAHVE? Tell us about that.
Well, we set aside 10% of our revenue, and this year we gave it to 3 charities. One charity is to help young boys who were incarcerated stay out, keep out of jail by helping them get educated and helping them find a life for themselves here in New York City. The other 2 charities, one is for domestic violence to help women and children have a safe place across the country. So it's a national domestic violence charity. And the other one that we've given to is to stop human trafficking. So those are the 3 charities that we supported this year. So every year and then when we have 2 retreats twice a year. And during those retreats, we also do something for charity. We did build bikes for charity. We did one, and we had a retreat in Puerto Rico where we gave to the schools were in desperate need of all kinds of supplies. So in addition to the setting aside revenue, whenever we have a retreat twice a year, since we're all virtual, I bring in my internal staff, and we do also some work for charity during that retreat.
Sharon, you've mentioned one of your successes with the woman who had a lisp, and you were able to fulfill job requirements. Any frustrations?
Well, some of the frustrations is that some companies just can't get it. They just don't understand. If their internal management is not set up properly, it's hard to have someone working from home. So we try to help them, set up a better way of managing. But that becomes difficult because we can't tell them how to run their company. So some of the frustration that happens is that companies they're just not managed properly in order to do this. And so that's frustrating because we could place more people if we could have the right kind of jobs. I can't put somebody at a job where they're going to set them up for failure. So that's been some of the frustration, figuring that out. Some of the frustration has been that people who are older aren't technologically savvy. I say, really? Not today. They're coming out of jobs where they've used at least 2 monitors, if not 3. Everyone has a smartphone. Everyone's FaceTiming. Everyone's buying on Amazon. I said, really?
Sure. Sharon, we're down to about 20 seconds. What are some final thoughts you want to share with our viewers before we sign off?
Well, I would say that, the future is that all of us are going to have to continue to work longer. And hopefully that you continue to work longer in something that is gratifying to you and that fits the lifestyle that you like to have as you age. And so I think we all need to focus on that. Companies need to focus on it because it's going to be significant. The size of our boomer population is huge, and also that focus on that what you can give back to companies. When you're looking for a job, remember the experience and knowledge that you have and then how much you can give back. And you can argue today for that, listen, I can help you, but I can also work remotely because now with COVID, everyone understands that that's what, in fact, some of the research about COVID is that they're recognizing that people are more productive working from home. So,
Sharon, we're out of time. I hate to cut you off.
Okay.
Sharon Emek, I want to thank you so much for being my guest on Gracefully Graying. And I want to thank you for watching Gracefully Graying. And please look us up on YouTube, our YouTube channel, and also our site, gracefullygraying.com, and like us. Thank you again, Sharon.
Thank you
it was
for
a pleasure
having
to meet you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.